So, welcome into our mini lesson today. We are going to be talking about divination. And we're going to talk a little bit about what divination is. We'll talk about a couple of different types of divination, and then we'll do a little divination exercise. So, if you are currently in a position to do so, I invite you to grab a book because you will need it. Doesn't matter what book it is, just well, maybe not like a math book, but maybe you have a novel nearby or I don't know, self-help book or nonfiction, whatever. Just grab that and have it nearby. We'll use that a little bit later on. So, right now, I want to talk about divination, what divination is, and why it's included in the Priestess Path. So, most of you probably have some type of experience along the way with divination, whether it's tarot cards, pendulums, even doing things like dowsing rods um, or having your tea leaves read. Right? Those are all forms of divination. And some people believe that divination is information given to us from spirit or from guides or from literal spirits like ghosts, those who've passed who are communicating with us through these different techniques. And I'm not here to tell you that's not true. But what I am here to tell you is that I actually think divination is almost a more powerful tool. I will actually go as far as saying I think it is a more powerful tool when you use it from that place of intuitive knowing. Divination creates a platform, an anchor point, a tool for you to use to channel your own, get your mind out of the way and channel what you already know or what your connection to spirit tells you. So, for example, if we were going to be using a pendulum, so, holding a pendulum and it goes back and forth or round and round, but it tells you yes, no, maybe based on the type of movements it's doing. Some people will say, well, that's false. Whatever information you're getting through that is false because you're controlling it. And I'm going to say, actually, it's true because you're controlling it. Your body is creating some type of vibration, some type of movement that is being translated into a pendulum. That information, that movement might be coming from your unconscious, subconscious, maybe your conscious mind, but it's coming through you. And really, I would just argue that that is information that maybe you couldn't access because all of us have a tendency to think too much. Or maybe it's just me and I'm projecting that on all of you. But we all have these brains that are really, really powerful. And by bypassing our thought process and going straight to our body sense and our body's information, we're able to get different messages or get clarity on things that maybe we thought, oh yeah, that sounds right. Or I'm waffling, but I'm leaning more towards this. When you get that yes, no, or maybe from your body, it tends to give you a clearer picture and it can land differently in your experience. When you're using something like tarot or oracle decks, some people use those and they go straight for the guidebook and they utilize the information there to give them an answer to the question they asked. I actually really invite people to use tarot and oracle cards as a means to access their imaginal realms, because that is also directly linked to our creativity, directly linked to our intuition. And when we take the time to let information come, so you look at an image on a card and you go, how does this make me feel? What do I actually see here? What is the story that this tells me? And there'll be similarities between what I get and you get, but there will also be differences because we have different lenses, we have different backgrounds, we have different experiences, different images speak to us in different ways. And so, using these forms of divination, ask a question and get an answer, we're really asking ourselves in a much deeper way what the answer to that question is. It's not outsourcing your wisdom, it's diving into your own wisdom. So that's the lens through which I see divination. That's how I feel it is used. Some people call it fortune telling, and I would say maybe a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of fortune telling there because I do think we're tapped in. I think all of us are tapped in psychically to the energies that are around us, to the information that is around us, to what has happened, what is going to happen, and what is happening. Not that we can all just tell the future because I do also believe in free will. And I do think that there are different paths to the future. But I think sometimes we can glimpse what some of those paths might look like, and they're changeable. So, divination can give you that access not just to your own wisdom, but sort of that higher wisdom that you have that when you connect into the energies that are around you. I include it in the priestess path because I do think it's an extremely valuable tool. I really truly believe, as I said earlier, we overthink and our minds, although powerful and beautiful and create so many amazing things in the world, they also can get in the way because we are very complex. Our minds are also very complex. Our emotional bodies are complex. And you start stirring the pot with all of those things together, and it's like, "Oh, I'm getting dizzy just being with myself." And I feel like divination can kind of through all of it and give you more clarity. What's kind of funny is sometimes I'll be using divination and I'll get answers, and I'm like, no, I hate this answer. Maybe you've had that experience. And then you sit with it a little bit longer, journal about it a little bit more, and pretty soon you start to see, oh, I can see how this is actually medicine I need right now. I have been called out by my tarot cards on way more than one occasion. Sometimes in very disappointing ways, but probably for the greater good of my life. So that is why I include it in the priestess path. I feel like the more in touch we are with our intuitive selves, the more we're listening to that part of ourselves, the more we are able to hold space for others, the more we are able to tap into source, and the more powerful our magic becomes, the more embodied and empowered we become. So and plus, it's kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie. Divination's a pretty fun tool, I think. So, some of the different types of divination, I've already mentioned them. So, cartomancy is using cards, oracle decks, tarot decks, playing cards. You can use playing cards. There's different systems for that, but you can also break it down to a simple yes and no. Red can be yes, black can be no, and you can go through the deck asking yes or no questions. Um, you can utilize tea leaves, which is tasseomancy. So you'll use a loose leaf tea, and there is kind of an art to this, and there's several different ways that people will do this. But generally, you brew the tea and you drink it, and then what's left in the bottom of the cup, some people will read it in the bottom of the cup. And based on where the tea leaves landed in different placements in the cup, you can tell a story about that. So that's like a system of reading tea leaves. Other ways people read tea leaves, though, are really looking for patterns. So as humans, our brains automatically are looking for patterns. It's what we do. It's the way our brains work. And we will attach those patterns to things we know. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're looking up at the clouds and you're watching them and you're like, "Oh, that one looks like a dog. That one looks like a snowman. That one looks like a skull," right? You're using the clouds as patterns. The same things happen when you're using tea leaves for reading. You're looking some people do it this way. They're looking for patterns in what those tea leaves look like. Some people dump them out and will look at them, on a saucer or a plate to see what kind of patterns come out, and they'll tell the story that they see in the leaves. So that's tasseomancy. We talked about pendulums. We talked about cartomancy. Oh, and then scrying, which is one of my favorites, actually. You can do scrying just about anywhere. And what that means is really to look into something, whether it's water or flame or a dark mirror, um, to look into something and let your gaze soften and begin to vision. Now, when I say begin to vision, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to see it like a TV screen telling you the story. What happens is when I say vision, we're looking at something and we might start to see shapes because our brain wants to make those patterns going up in that water, in that fire, in that dark mirror. What was the other thing I was thinking you could use? Oh, ink. I've done ink in water as well, taking like a bowl of water and doing a drop of ink, and you watch the shape that forms and use that as the same premise of scrying. Um, Same idea with clouds. Some people do weather divination or weather scrying, and they'll watch the cloud formations and get information from that. So, what that's doing is tapping into your imaginal realm, tapping into your intuitive self, and information comes through in that way. So, you might be seeing the patterns, but you might also just go into a meditative state. I don't know about you, but if I sit in front of a fire and watch a fire move and crackle, and I start to go into that meditative state, I'll start to have visions, which are really just imaginings, right? I'm not actually seeing something playing out in the fire, but it's activating something in my brain that's allowing me to drop into what I call visioning, but it could just be a knowing as well, because we all gather information in different ways. So, those are just a few, just a little sprinkling of some of the divination techniques that are out there. There are many more, but those are just a couple I'm going to mention today. And for our exercise today, I'm going to invite you just to take a moment here to shut your eyes and drop into your breath, finding that rhythm. And as you drop in, you might just scan your body from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, noticing any places that might feel a little out of alignment, a little tense, a little congested. And if you find those places, you can go ahead and invite your breath to move into those spaces. And as you exhale, you can imagine those energies unwinding, releasing. And as those energies release, your own energy begins to flow more smoothly through your being. Taking just a minute or two here to really let yourself breathe, to really let yourself tap into those spaces that might need a little extra unwinding. And to allow your breath to move your energy through your body fluidly and with ease. And as you settle deeper into yourself here, you might begin to think about a question, a wondering, a curiosity that has been coming to the surface for you. This might be about something like a choice, a decision that you're needing to make. It might be a curiosity about why something is unfolding as it is. It might be the simple question, what do I need to know today? But let a question of some sort begin to form here for you, a wondering, a curiosity. Take a big breath in with that formed question really sitting there inside of you, the forefront. And as you exhale, go ahead and let your eyes come open and reach for your book. Holding your book between your palms, close your eyes once more and ask this question aloud if you're in a space where you can speak out loud. Ask it internally if you're in a place where you might not want to speak out loud. And then, with your eyes still closed, open the book to the place that feels right and point to a spot on a page. And once you've done it, you can open your eyes and look at what you see. Maybe it's a word, maybe it's a sentence, maybe it's a paragraph. But what would it mean if that was the answer to the question that you had? And sometimes this exercise happens and you go, I have no freaking idea what that means. But I would invite you, if that's the case, to maybe take a few minutes to journal about it today, to think about it, to let it sort of percolate and live in you and notice what you notice. My hunch is there is in fact something there for you. So this is called bibliomancy, and it's the act of using a book to help you divine. So this is our exercise and my gift to you today. I love this one because you can do it pretty much anywhere. I mean, most of us have books. It's kind of fun to do in a bookstore when you're around a bunch of books that aren't yours. Nobody knows what you're doing, but it's like, oh, what does this book have to tell me? Um, but I also encourage you to just play with this idea of divination, the idea of looking for patterns and meaning in things and noticing what information comes up for you and what patterns emerge in that information. Do you tend to get similar information when you do divination? Is it wildly different? How connected do you feel to yourself as you do this? And it is a practice. When we do this in the Priestess Path, we do a lot more of these types of exercises, and we do some of them in pairs and some of them individually. It's really fun, though, to get to explore this part of ourselves, this intuitive part of ourselves. I have a message here. I liked that the message that I received was about change. Nice. Yeah. So, this is what I have for you today in our little mini lesson on divination. I hope you enjoyed this and maybe took away a couple nuggets for yourself. And I will be back with you all on Monday, and we will dive into a little more magic then. Thank you for being here and take good care. Bye.